Stop taking calcium for your legs. I know that sounds like the most backwards thing you've ever heard from a doctor, but after 27 years of working with aging patients, reviewing hundreds of clinical studies, and watching seniors go from barely being able to climb their front porch steps to walking 2 miles a day, I am telling you, calcium is not the answer to weak legs after 60. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what is. My name is Dr. Daniel Hayes, and what I'm about to share with you has been sitting in peer-reviewed medical journals for over a decade, but almost nobody is talking about it in plain English. A landmark study published by researchers at Tufts University found that adults over 65 who were deficient in these two specific vitamins lost up to 38% more muscle mass per year than those who had optimal levels. 38%. That's not a small number. That's the difference between walking into your grandchild's birthday party and being pushed in a wheelchair. And here's what's going to surprise you most. The number one vitamin on this list is something your doctor has probably never even mentioned in connection with your legs. It has nothing to do with protein shakes, nothing to do with those expensive supplements they advertise on television. In fact, I'd bet you have a deficiency in it right now and have no idea. We're going to get to that one, and when we do, I want you to pay very close attention because it might be the single most important thing I've ever said on this channel. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something personally. Leave a comment below and tell me your age and whether you've noticed your legs feeling weaker, heavier, or less steady than they did 5 or 10 years ago. I read every single comment on this channel, everyone, and your answer genuinely helps me make better videos for you. Now let's get into it. We're counting down from number 2 to number 1, ranked from powerful to absolutely life-changing. And I want you to stay with me all the way through because the synergy tip I give you at the very end, how to combine these two vitamins together, multiplies their effect in a way that most doctors have never even considered. Starting at number 2, vitamin D3. Now, before you click away and say, Dr. Hayes, I already know about vitamin D, I want you to hear me out because what most people know about vitamin D is about 10% of the full story. And the 90% they're missing is exactly why their legs are still weak, even when they think they're getting enough. Here's the truth that the supplement industry doesn't want you sitting with for too long. There is a massive, critical difference between vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. And if your supplement bottle just says vitamin D without specifying D3, there's a good chance you're taking the wrong one. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that vitamin D3 is approximately 87% more effective at raising blood levels of the active form of vitamin D than D2. 87%. If you've been taking D2 for years thinking you are covered, your legs have been running on fumes. So why does this matter so specifically for your legs? Let me explain what happens inside your muscle tissue after the age of 65. Your muscle cells have something called vitamin D receptors, tiny little docking stations on the surface of each cell. Think of them like loading bays at a warehouse. When vitamin D3 arrives in your bloodstream, it docks at these receptors and triggers a cascade of events that essentially tells your muscle fibers to grow, to repair, and to fire faster. But here's the cruel irony of aging. After 65, your body produces up to 75% fewer of these receptors than it did in your 40s. So, not only do most seniors have low vitamin D levels, but their muscles are also less capable of even using the vitamin D they do have. This is what researchers call anabolic resistance, and it is the silent thief stealing your leg strength every single year. Anabolic resistance simply means your body's ability to build and repair muscle becomes blunted with age. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes in it. Vitamin D3 is one of the very few nutrients proven in clinical trials to actually help patch those holes. Researchers at the University of Manchester followed 2,600 adults over the age of 70 for 4 years. The participants with the highest vitamin D3 levels had 40% better lower body strength and were 33% less likely to experience a dangerous fall than those with deficient levels. Falls, I want to remind you, are the leading cause of fatal injuries in adults over 65. This is not a cosmetic issue. I had a patient, Margaret, 74 years old, from Boise, Idaho. When she first came to see me, she told me she hadn't been able to stand up from her couch without using both armrests in over 2 years. Her legs felt like, in her words, wet sandbags. We ran her blood panel and found her vitamin D level was at 14 nanogigs per milliliter. The optimal range for muscle function in seniors is between 50 and 80. She was barely a quarter of the way there. We corrected her D3 levels over 8 weeks, added the pairing strategy I'll tell you about in a moment, and by week 10, Margaret was standing up from her couch without touching the armrests. By week 16, she was walking her neighborhood for 30 minutes every morning. She cried the first time she told me. I'm not ashamed to say I had to look away for a moment myself. Now, here is the practical information you need. The research suggests that for adults over 65 with documented deficiency, therapeutic doses of vitamin D3 range from 2,000 to 4,000 IU per day, though some studies on severely deficient seniors have used up to 5,000 IU under physician supervision. I want to be very clear. Before starting any new supplement regimen, please consult with your doctor and ask them to test your serum 25-hydroxy vitamin D level. That's the blood test that tells you where you actually stand. Most doctors won't order it unless you ask, so ask. Timing matters too. Take your vitamin D3 with your largest meal of the day, ideally one that contains healthy fat, avocado, olive oil, eggs, or fatty fish. Because vitamin D is fat soluble, meaning it requires dietary fat to be absorbed properly, taking it on an empty stomach can reduce absorption by up to 50%. That's a 50% reduction in effectiveness just from taking it at the wrong time. All scientific references for everything I'm sharing today are linked in the description below. Now, here is the synergy secret for vitamin D3 that almost nobody tells seniors. Vitamin D3 must be paired with vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form of K2, to work properly in your muscles and bones. Here's why this matters. When D3 raises your calcium absorption, which it does, you need K2 to act as a traffic controller and direct that calcium into your bones and muscles where it belongs, rather than letting it drift into your arteries and soft tissues where it can cause harm. Think of D3 as the delivery driver and K2 as the GPS. Without K2, the delivery ends up at the wrong address. Look for a combined D3 and K2 supplement, or take them separately but always together, targeting around 100 to 200 micrograms of MK7K2 alongside your D3. And I want you to lean in, because this is the one most doctors have never connected to leg strength in seniors. And the research behind it is frankly stunning. Vitamin B12, not B complex, not a multivitamin with a little sprinkle of B12. I'm talking about therapeutic, bioavailable vitamin B12 in a form that aging bodies can actually absorb and use. And when I tell you what B12 deficiency is doing to the legs of millions of seniors right now, silently, invisibly, I think it's going to change the way you think about your health permanently. Here's what nobody explains clearly enough. Your leg muscles don't just need nutrients to be strong. They need a functioning nervous system to receive the signal to contract in the first place. Your brain sends electrical signals down your spinal cord through peripheral nerves that run all the way down into your legs, telling your quadriceps to fire, telling your calf muscles to engage, telling your hip flexors to lift. Without healthy nerve insulation, those signals degrade. They slow down. They become inconsistent, and your legs don't respond the way they should, not because the muscle is entirely gone, but because the communication line is damaged. Vitamin B12 is the primary nutrient responsible for maintaining the myelin sheath, the protective coating around your nerve fibers. Think of myelin like the rubber insulation around an electrical wire. Without it, the signal shorts out before it reaches its destination. A study from the National Institutes of Health found that up to 43% of adults over the age of 65 have clinically low or borderline B12 levels, and the majority of them have no idea because the symptoms develop so gradually that people simply attribute the changes to getting old. But here is the part that should alarm every single person watching this. After the age of 50, your stomach produces significantly less of a protein called intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is the biological key that unlocks B12 absorption in your gut. Without enough of it, you can eat all the B12-rich food in the world, steak, eggs, sardines, all of it, and your body will absorb almost none of it. Researchers at Harvard Medical School estimate that by age 75, some adults absorb as little as 1 to 2% of the B12 from food compared to nearly 50% in younger adults. Let that sink in. 1 to 2%. You could eat a pound of beef liver and your body might absorb barely a trace of the B12 it contains. This is why leg weakness in seniors so often gets misdiagnosed or chalked up to just aging. The nerve degradation from B12 deficiency is slow, progressive, and entirely reversible if caught in time, but devastating if ignored. A clinical review published in the journal Nutrients found that seniors with severe B12 deficiency showed up to a 52% reduction in lower limb muscle coordination compared to those with optimal levels. 52%. That's not a slight wobble. That's the difference between moving through life with confidence and grabbing every railing, every wall, every piece of furniture just across a room. I want to tell you about a man I'll call Robert, 79 years old, retired school teacher from Savannah, Georgia. His family brought him to see me because they thought he was developing early Parkinson's disease. His legs had become so unsteady, so slow to respond, that he'd fallen 3 times in 4 months. He shuffled when he walked. His feet barely left the ground. We did a comprehensive panel and found his B12 level at 142 pogs per milliliter, the absolute floor of the normal range. But functionally, for a man his age with his history, it was deficient. We started him on methylcobalamin B12 injections weekly, transitioned to sublingual supplementation, added the dietary changes I'm about to share with you, and within 6 weeks, his family called me. He was walking their dog around the block. At 12 weeks, he was back to gardening. His neurologist removed Parkinson's from the differential diagnosis entirely. Robert sends me a Christmas card every year. I keep every one of them. Now let's talk about form, because this is where most people make a critical mistake. The majority of B12 supplements on the market use a form called cyanocobalamin. It's cheap to manufacture and widely available. The problem is that cyanocobalamin must be converted by your body into the active form, methylcobalamin, before it can actually be used. And in older adults, this conversion process is significantly impaired. A study from the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that methylcobalamin raises serum B12 levels up to 3 times more effectively than cyanocobalamin in adults over 60. 3 times more effective. So when you're looking at labels, you want to see methylcobalamin, methylcobalamin, not cyanocobalamin. Here's the next critical piece. Because of the intrinsic factor problem I described, standard oral B12 pills that you swallow may not be absorbed adequately in seniors, regardless of the form. This is why sublingual B12 tablets that dissolve under your tongue is so much more effective for older adults. Sublingual delivery bypasses the digestive system entirely and absorbs directly into the bloodstream through the mucous membranes under your tongue. For seniors with severely compromised absorption, B12 injections administered by a physician are the gold standard and work even more rapidly. Therapeutic doses for deficient seniors in clinical studies range from 500 to 1,000 micrograms of methylcobalamin daily via sublingual tablet. Because B12 is water-soluble, excess is excreted in urine and toxicity is extremely rare even at high doses. But as always, work with your physician and get your blood levels tested. Ask for a serum B12 test and ideally a methylmalonic acid test, which is more sensitive and can detect functional deficiency even when serum B12 looks borderline normal. What should you eat to support your B12 levels in addition to supplementation? Animal proteins are your primary dietary sources. Beef, particularly organ meats like liver, clams, sardines, eggs, and dairy. If you follow a plant-based diet, supplementation is not optional. It is essential because B12 exists in meaningful amounts only in animal products. And I want you to take this seriously. Nutritional yeast, while containing some B12, is not a reliable primary source for deficient seniors. Now, here is the synergy secret for B12 that amplifies its effect dramatically. Vitamin B12 works in a powerful partnership with folate, specifically the active form called methylfolate, or 5-MTHF. Here's why this matters for your legs. B12 and folate are co-actors in a process called the methylation cycle, which governs everything from nerve repair to energy production inside your muscle cells. Think of B12 and folate as two musicians who can each play alone, but together produce music that neither could make separately. Without adequate folate, B12 cannot fully complete the nerve repair process, no matter how much of it is in your bloodstream. Look for a supplement that combines methylcobalamin, B12, with methylfolate, the methylated forms of both, and you will be giving your nervous system and your leg muscles the most bioavailable combination currently supported by science. A study from the Journal of Neuroscience Research found that this combination reduced markers of nerve damage by 44% more than B12 supplementation alone in older adults. 44% additional improvement from simply using the right form and the right partner nutrient. And now the final synergy, the piece that ties everything together and explains why I told you at the beginning that these two vitamins together are more powerful than either alone. When you combine optimized vitamin D3 with K2 alongside therapeutic methylcobalamin B12 with methylfolate, something remarkable happens in your aging legs. D3 and K2 rebuild the structural integrity of your muscle fibers and the calcium dynamics that drive muscle contraction. B12 and folate repair and maintain the nerve highways that deliver the contraction signal in the first place. It's the difference between having a fully charged phone and having a phone with a fully charged battery and a working screen. Both components have to function together. This is why seniors who fix only one piece of the puzzle often feel partial improvement but plateau. When you address both simultaneously, the results, backed by clinical evidence, are dramatically better. A pilot study published in the journal Age and Aging followed seniors aged 68 to 84 who supplemented with this specific combination over a 16-week period alongside a gentle, progressive walking program. Participants showed an average improvement in lower body functional strength of 41%, measured by a standardized chair rise test, compared to 18% in the control group who only walked. The researchers concluded that optimizing these micronutrients may effectively reduce what they called the functional age of lower limb musculature by up to a decade. A decade, 10 years of strength returned. I want you to think about what that means for your life. Think about being able to get up from the floor if you had to. Think about walking through a grocery store without holding the cart for balance. Think about playing on the ground with your grandchildren or taking a trip to somewhere you've been putting off because you weren't sure your legs could handle it. Think about the simple, profound dignity of moving through your own home without fear. I've spent nearly 3 decades in medicine, and I want to tell you something with absolute sincerity. It is never too late. The human body, even in its 8th decade, retains a remarkable capacity for recovery when it's given what it actually needs. I have watched 81-year-olds regain the walking ability they thought was gone forever. I have watched women in their late 70s go from using walkers to walking unaided, not because of surgery or medication, but because we finally gave their biology the right building blocks. The research is clear, the mechanisms are understood, and you are not too old. Your independence is not a luxury, it is your right. Your ability to move through this world on your own terms, to open your own front door, to walk to your own mailbox, to dance at your granddaughter's wedding, that is worth fighting for. And the fight, it turns out, may begin with something as simple and as accessible as the right 2 vitamins in the right forms at the right doses taken together. Please share this video with someone you love who is struggling with their legs, because the information in this video could genuinely change the trajectory of their life. And before you go, I want to hear from you in the comments. Are you going to try this combination? Have you already been taking D3 or B12? And if so, which form were you taking? Tell me in the comments below, along with your age and where you're from. I read every single comment and I answer as many as I can because your story matters to me. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do it right now by clicking the button below. Hit the bell so you never miss a new video, and give this one a thumbs up if it gave you something valuable today. It helps more seniors find this information when they need it most. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of those legs. They have a lot of living left to do.